Oh, yeah, baby. We are up to a lot of fresh ideas because sometimes in life it brings you up face to face with a crate dragon. You don't know how the hell you got there. You're surrounded by a bunch of sand people and you're thinking to yourself, why do I keep doing this to myself? That's the question that the Mandalorian had to ask him this week on The Mandalorian, Chapter 9, The Marshal, and streaming Star Wars has been brought back. Everybody, a round of applause. We're all happy. We're all happy. That's right. We have, it's going to be, you know what? We got a gallery of thieves and smugglers on today's show. We're going to have a gallery expanded here as we continue this series. We got people in the live chat. So glad that you're all with us. We're going to have a great time over the next 25 minutes. We're going to keep it tight because that's right. And so if you don't know already, Chapter 9, The Marshal, it's out on Disney+. If you haven't watched it right now, what the hell are you doing here? Go away. You need to go watch that episode and then come back to us.
Heavy spoilers in this show.
Major spoilers.
Listen, every week what we're going to do here on the Beyond the Blast Doors Network is we're going to have another entry into the streaming Star Wars saga here on the network, and we're going to break down each episode, tell you how each episode makes us feel, how we think it could influence the future of the story, and how it could maybe have an impact on the overall Star Wars story and galaxy. Helping us do it this week, we have Mr. Josh with the most. How are we doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Super pumped. No better way to wake up on any morning than groggily roll over and turn on Disney Plus and watch The Mandalorian, which did not disappoint. In my opinion, it was fantastic. So
glad to have you
talk about it.
Heck yeah, glad to have you here. We also have Miss Shannon Moran. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. So evening time here in the UK, 5 o'clock. So yeah, we got breakfast, lunch, and dinner covered for everybody.
I totally forgot about the time change. Yeah, you could be drinking because it is actually 5 o'clock where you're at. That's incredible. Yeah, this is just Diet Coke. I'm David, and I'm on the network too.
Hey, David.
And I found out today that my wife doesn't have COVID, and my COVID's going away. So we're just going to have a good time.
Sit back from the mic, though, all right? I don't want to catch it.
That's not how it travels, okay?
Whatever. Fake news.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. That digs real deep. Guys, we have a lot to get to. Really excited. Before we go into the first topic here on today's show, want to pop in the live chat real quick and just see what the people are saying. We got Scotty J. Rowe in the live chat. This man is an educator. He is at work. He is on this show on company time. The public community that he serves is paying for his antics. Scotty, we love you too. We got Steve Hyman in the live chat as well. This episode was full of Easter eggs. Yes, we're going to talk about that a lot. Shannon might make the argument this is the most Easter egg-filled show of the 9 chapters.
I don't know about that, but there's some deep cuts, very deep cuts.
Scotty just gave us a $2 super chat, so
good job, Scotty.
Smooches. I can't kiss you in person because I stopped COVID. We have streaming elements. Make sure you follow us. That's always great. Matthew Harrington, there was a lot more new stuff dropped than I expected. I was happy with Tatooine, and it just kept getting better. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Cobb Vanth. Oh, we said this was going to be spoiler heavy, so we're going to have a good time here. We're going to talk about all these things and a lot more. Keep commenting in the live chat as we make our way through the conversation today. We will bring you on screen to shout you out, to talk about what you're talking about, because that's what this is. This is a Star Wars conversation. We're glad that you're with us. And hey, listen, fair warning, like we already have said, there will be spoilers here in the next 24 minutes. So if you have not watched The Mandalorian Chapter 9, the Marshal episode yet, listen, we're not offended if you put us on pause and you go watch that episode, and then you come back to us and see if we found the same Easter eggs that maybe popped out to you, or maybe there were certain reveals that...
Oh, there's stuff we're missing.
There's
stuff. I can't wait to watch it again.
So make sure that whether you're watching with us live or you're going to catch us on the rewind, come back and in the comment section here, tell us your favorite Easter eggs and why, so we can continue this Star Wars conversation. First topic of this, let's get right into it. Swinging for the fences, a lot of excitement here in Chapter 9, The Marshal. Very impressive, 51 minutes. Nice complete Season 1 recap to kick things off. The Marshal was written and directed by Jon Favreau. Originally, it was believed that it was titled The Search. Mm-hmm. So we learned that was not false. So we're going to go around the ring here and talk about what was our favorite moment. And does this one episode already make us feel like Season 2 is going to be greater than Season 1? And I don't think it's that far-fetched. Shannon, you're laughing. Let's start with you. How does this thing hit you? How does it smack you all over? Does it make you feel good?
Oh my God. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, I watched it 7 a.m. And, I'm just going to call him Saint Favreau. I mean, Jon Favreau has saved 2020. Like, first of all, I was so happy when the announcements came out that it was going to be like 52 minutes and things. Part of me wants to be like, oh, they heard us. They want it to be longer. But I mean, I think once we start like breaking it down, because there's just so much to take. But this is just the beginning, and it's just literally one episode.
I thought it was. I am so pleased. I will talk about it after Josh, but my goodness, you can tell the Favreau touch. Josh, when you watch this first episode, what stood out to you first? What was the most obvious thing that your brain went, wow, I really like what I'm seeing?
Well, it just got right into it. Okay, that's what I liked the most, and I found myself just smiling from the credits. It just got right into it. We had this really crazy new place, which we can talk about briefly, but I liked, for one, it was 52 minutes. It didn't feel like that. The pacing was perfect, in my opinion. It moved along. It had some really good, kind of, I don't want to say canned or corny, but just some good, make you feel good type of watching a Western or whatever you want to call it. I just was smiling. It wasn't too serious. It didn't take itself too seriously, but also had just amazing things to look at, especially for a Star Wars fan. So
I thought what was so incredible about this, just from that opening sequence where we're on this planet, we have the Mandalorian child. I did not expect the Gamorrean boxing ring scene to be the start of season 2.
Right.
That caught me off guard, and it wasn't so much an aggressive, thrust into this story. I felt like I was in the middle of the action when we started season 1, where the Mandalorian walks in the bar and cuts the guy in half with the doors. But I definitely felt like we were in progress of something happening. We get in there. Obviously the scene kind of turns on the Mandalorian, and he has to find his way out of that situation while still protecting the child. But I thought, like, aesthetically, it looked like a cool world. I just remember like that first shot where it was panned, it was tilted up. We're looking up, and I liked all these towers, and like the lighting was interesting. The graffiti art, it was this lived in world that I was like, man, I would love to come back and play here. But you felt like you were in this underworld. And so again, like that used, I just thought like there was a lot with the coloring of this overall episode that I think Shannon might be able to speak to you better. But I thought the color palette was really interesting. When I think of Tatooine, especially from like the original trilogy, I always think of the sand, that traditional sand color. And I felt much of this episode, especially once we got to Tatooine, it was like white, and there was like gray, and it just seemed like a brighter tone that I wasn't familiar when on that planet. So I thought that was really cool, and I wonder if that was done intentionally, or if that's something that I don't know, that maybe I'm looking too far into. But did you notice like the tones of the episode? It felt brighter, maybe than what I expected.
I mean, I definitely think they can, obviously, with the volume and things, mess with that kind of lighting and things. But I mean, I will say, like, they still knew how to choose their shots. Like, they obviously had that canyon when the ship goes around, just like where, Obi-Wan and Luke were standing and looking over, I think it's Beggar's Canyon and things. I wouldn't say anything jumped out a bit. Again, I was also watching it on a laptop with the brightness down, so maybe that might be why it didn't jump out to me.
I agree with you, David.
No, but there were definitely some other kind of like...
Yeah, sorry. I know this delay, that pond. There's a pond between us. No, I agree, David. They did have a different look. It was like you were seeing Tatooine again for the first time. Different, like you said, some ridges, and obviously we traveled across it quite a few times. We saw a new Mos
Pespa, I think?
Pespa or something like that. It was cool to see just a different side of Tatooine. I know we've been there a few times and throughout the Star Wars sagas, but I'm okay.
It was Mos Pogo, right?
Yeah, something like that. I'm okay going back because I said that to myself, and I'll say it here. I was like, I'm having fun exploring Tatooine right now, and it might be the last time. Who knows? I mean, we obviously have a story to tell there, but it might be the last time we get to really explore it like that, at least within the next few years, right? So I had fun. We got to see banthas up close and for a while. I mean, we got to see ones, we got, to look in their eyes, which was awesome. We had a ton of interaction with the Tusken Raiders, which was great. Like really great, like the sign language and the Mandalorian, obviously has made. Yeah, kill. That's what that was. But yeah, so it was just fantastic. I had no problem with it. Of course, you could complain like we only see desert worlds. No way. I'm sorry. I think to your point, David, that was a different version of the desert world than we had seen so far. So I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Does anyone else feel like the Mandalorian is just like this one big piece of propaganda to say like sand people lives matter?
Maybe, or at least I think they are. I think to be right, they are kind of tagging towards the indigenous people, and living, together. They were, you've got Western style settlers, and you've got, American Indian, type of sand people. I think there's the connection there, and then to see them, work together, I think is probably what they were going for.
Oh yeah, I mean, I certainly think that there's been this indigenous. I mean, this was mentioned actually in something last night, not to plug anything, but the sand people are an indigenous people. And then, yeah, I kind of like that. Like you're also seeing kind of this progression with Din Djarin that he not, first season, he knows some basic signs. By the second season, he's actually like speaking it and doing more and like communicating like with the dogs, the sand people dogs. Like how cool was that? And just like, yeah, I like that. That's almost now become part of like the Sand People or the Tusken Raiders kind of thing. And they even kind of said it in the speech. They weren't like, oh no, the Tusken Raiders are great. They're like, are they Raiders? Yeah, so they acknowledge that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was very well done, and I think it's amazing. Also, all the ASL kind of on showcase because those are all real signs. My ASL is a bit rusty, but they're not making things up. Those are real.
That's good. Thanks for verifying that.
And also like the because in the first season that actor where they had it with our favorite Cal Turakan or whatever, that was a deaf, like hard of hearing actor and things like that. So I mean, I think that's really cool to also kind of include that in like a positive light, and it has a purpose and things. So like I mean, I recognize this is help, so I know this is help you, help me, help all of us. So I mean, they're real, and I bet you there's some kind of like inside jokes. If you sign, you're probably like but yeah, so I thought that was very, very cool, and it was a nice touch.
I think it's impressive that we've made it 13 minutes and we haven't mentioned Boba Fett's return. We haven't talked about Cobb Vanth. We haven't talked about the Krayt Dragon really in an extent. My brain, honest to God, guys, I went numb watching this episode. I felt like I was watching a Star Wars movie. To Josh's point, it went faster than a true 51 minutes. Still a lot of that like visual exposition. We watched a lot of The Mandalorian travel by sand speeder. We like to do that. It harkens back to the travel along the Dune Sea that we saw in Chapter 5 last season. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at an image right now here on your screen. That's such a badass scene. The banthas and then Cobb Vanth, and you have the Mandalorian riding side by side. I mean, it looked like they were going to war. I don't know. I said out loud, I watched it twice already today with two different friends. And I was like, it kind of has like a Bob, like not a Bob, but a Ben-Hur like chariot vibe. But maybe I'm like, again, my mind's just trying to make it something that I'm familiar with. But I'm just like, oh my God, it freaking hit. When you guys saw that figure at the doorway of that cantina in Mos Pagla or Pago or whatever. Yes, here.
You're stepping on my joke here, though, David. Because I was going to say, when are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Tink.
Josh, tell me, what were your first thoughts when you saw that man roll up in Boba Fett's freaking armor?
It was awesome. And again, they got right to it. So think about this. We've all been speculating. We heard the Spurs last season and the speculation began. We were on Tatooine, so it probably had already started. And to see to them to just go, bam, it's called the Marshal. I'm in a town in Tatooine, and the Marshal's here. And that was it. Boom. And he's right there silhouetted. It's Boba freaking Fett. I mean, you knew it was Boba Fett, but I'm like, oh, come on. And then they set the helmet on the table. You see the dent. And you're like, it's Boba Fett's. It's Boba Fett's armor. And it was, I was just smiling. Again, I was just smiling. I was just like, yes. And I'm okay with it. I know there's some people that might say, I don't want Boba to return. Why? For no reason, he's a favorite character throughout Star Wars fans. He's got the least amount of screen time of anybody with his amount of credibility right now, at least in the movies. And let's have it. I mean, I'm going to put it. I'm going to say what Pete said this morning when we were chatting.
You can. Gallinorian Saber says I yelled when I saw that reveal.
Yeah, me too. I was just smiling. But I mean, it's a 37-year mystery solved. It's been 37 years. Pete said I've been waiting 37 years to find out what happened to Boba Fett, and they left it with no unclear terms here. His armor's there, and then at the end, Boba Fett.
They also kind of slightly set it up too in a line when they're looking at the cavern for the crate dragon, and they were like, "Oh, it's what did they say?
Yes.
Something along the lines of a empty Sarlacc pit or whatever."
Yep.
And there's no such thing, and they're like, "It is when the crate dragon." Or it's like eaten by something or something like that. Sorry, I've only watched it once.
Right.
But I mean, they've literally right there set up, because correct me if I'm wrong, canon junkies here, that like if they say that he's gonna like you get digested for like 1,000 years or something. So it's not an instant death. So that's probably what happened. Crate dragon shows up, eats Sarlacc, and then hey, Boba Fett's like, I'm out.
Right. I think we have.
Go ahead.
Well, this is a good statement, and it's right along. I was just going to put that, new characters and new plot, which I don't wholly disagree with. But I think we are Boba Fett, again, to my point, Boba Fett is a new character. We don't know anything about Boba Fett. He's as new as it gets. We only know the headcanon and some comic books that have, and legend books that have filled him out. But from a movie perspective, I'm okay. Tamora as Boba Fett without his armor is a new character. We don't really know what Boba Fett, the non-bounty hunter, is, So I think we're seeing a very new character, or at least one. And again, this comment right here, I find perfect. I trust Favreau, and not that one, but this is what comics. But he said he trusts Favreau and Filoni to handle it, which I agree with.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think in good hands we are, and I think that was proven in the first season. But I think here in the second season, we're already seeing aesthetically the difference of having a Jon Favreau behind the camera and having a firmer grasp on the writing process.
Right.
Favreau is credited with the majority of these scripts here in season 2, so I think we have a lot to look forward to. In a couple minutes, we'll break down what we think is going to happen in the next chapter, and it's probably going to involve a lot of Boba Fett. It's probably going to involve a lot of the Mandalorian and the child and other characters. This helmet, it's got to talk about that helmet a little bit more, right? But we'll dive into that. Let's go ahead and transition now to Easter eggs.
Okay.
This is one of the joys of any film franchise, seeing what the creators hide in the background to get our minds thinking and trying to imagine, what's possible, what's ultimately possible in this series. And Chapter 9, the Marshal, did not disappoint with these Easter eggs. And one of the most notable, Shannon, I'll have you start with this. What's the one Easter egg with you that you feel we should all pay a little bit more attention to?
Oh, maybe not pay a whole more attention to, but just was like a massive, I felt deep cut, was the Knights of the Old Republic. People have been saying it in chat, and oh yeah, I see you guys. I'm like, I'm getting there. I promise. Like, basically in that game, you head to Tatooine and you have to get like a star map, and you have to talk to the sand people, and they tell you the story about the crate dragon. You go to the crate dragon, you have to lure the crate dragon out with Bantha fodder, and then he comes out, and I mean the canyon, and like then when at the very end, that if people don't know what they are holding, that's not an egg, that is a pearl, that is a crate dragon pearl. And yes, there we go. Like, that is deep. And it's one of those also, if you choose like a dark side option, because basically you're helping a hunter, that you could even put that in your lightsaber. So obviously the idea of a pearl is different sizes, but I mean, when I saw that at the end, I was just like, wow, we really went there. But I mean, the way that it is in the design of the crate dragon with like the kind of side horns, I mean, it's obviously a lot bigger in this show than it is in the game, but I mean, it was massive deep cut. And as we know from articles and things I've written, and when I play it, massive Knights of the Old Republic fan. So to see it, and I mean, it's like a major plot point of the game, of the show from the game, that just was very, very, very exciting. And as you can tell, I was just like,
I love the excitement. And Josh,
I can't tell.
Josh, I feel like you want to talk a little bit more about Boba Fett. So what's an Easter egg with Fett here that we need to be considering?
Oh no.
Oh, Pete. Oh no. Producer Pete in the background, save us. No, it's okay. Here, I'll tell mine. We'll give him some time.
On to you, David.
I'll take myself full and give him some time to come on back into this. Hey, so when I'm thinking about the Easter eggs that brought me the most joy, the one that really sticks out is Cobb Vanth's. I almost called it a racer. It's a speeder, but that engine looks vaguely familiar to that whole thing, and I'm pretty sure that it an engine from Anakin's pod racer. I feel like that's like making Star Wars way too small in that moment. Like, how is that possible? But I'm pretty sure they did sell Anakin's pod racer at the end of it. I mean, I guess there's a chance that he might have gotten one of those engines, but that's definitely Anakin's pod racer engine, right?
I mean, it's got the flaps at the front. You know, they were down, but they flexed up when he stopped once, and I'm like, I mean, he's sitting to the side of it. So that I don't, you know, I
the
think
the sound design was they purposely used the exact sound, you know, that like that was purposely like the exact sound.
It was super cool
design. Like,
and we got that again also when at the end when, you know, the Mando's about to blow up the dragon, right? And he's got to get Cobb Vanth out of the way. He hits that jetpack and he shoots off. It's the same sound from Return of the Jedi when Boba Fett goes spiraling over and ends up in the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, It's the same sound. It was, and that's really well done.
That's what I love. And then the nod at the end where he goes, "Hey, and make sure you tell him I didn't break that." that goes all the way back to like Han, right? Han broke it, right? When he bops him in the back, you know.
The deep cuts. Now, Josh, we lost you for a second. You're back now.
That.
What? Don't apologize, but make up for it by telling us your favorite Easter egg.
Okay, my Easter egg is more just kind of like I think it was more of a nod, and it had to do when Cobb is flashing back to the miners and he's chasing them out of town in Boba's armor, and they're in their vehicle and they're taking off, and the you know, the whatever we call that, I don't know what we call that, whatever rangefinder comes down and he locks on. You know, so you know he's got a lock, right? So we got a missile lock here. But he bends at the waist and fires the rocket, which we know probably could have gone straight up and then still found its target. But that is such a nod to my little man right here. Because if you were a kid ever playing... Hold on, let me see if it'll zoom.
It's so blurry.
Zoom. Or focus.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
My little guy right here. Because if you were ever playing as a kid and you were going to take someone out with Boba Fett's rocket, the first thing you did was this. There was no locking technology in the 80s, okay? So this. Got to get him. So bam.
Funny.
So
Does it fire?
No, not this one. It'd be a lot more. So the fact that that to me from the toy, I'm the toy guy here to represent it today. So that to me was just a pure nod to the Boba firing mechanism. He did it twice. So I love it.
I'd like to bring up this real quick, guys, if I can. Steve Hyman, a good friend of the show, in fact, one of the creators of the original Beyond the Blast Doors, he goes, R5 reappeared as well. That's right, our malfunctioning droid from A New Hope.
And his motivator's been fixed.
Yeah, and I liked how like the greasy slime was like still in that, like around the socket where it blew in the original film. Like I thought that was like, mwah. That was a great little detail that they kept in with that droid. I love that, Steve.
Can I be honest though?
Yeah.
When we first started this episode and we landed in the hangar, we've got, sorry, her character name escapes me.
We just call her Amy Sedaris. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is it Telly mode?
Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, here we go. I mean, we're going back to Tatooine. We're going back to this. Oh, yep, R5. It was just like, oh God, okay. It was starting to slightly feel a bit fan servicey. Now, before people crucify me, I think what helped was the length. The length of the episode helped, where it didn't feel like, let's just cram in as many Easter eggs in 25 minutes. I mean, it all felt like it actually paid off, and it wasn't a, hey guys, it was one of those, like, it actually had a purpose and things. So, because, I mean, I think maybe it's also part of me was like, oh yeah, I knew Cobb Vanth was coming because I'm in this, like, echo chamber now, but, sorry, that's my hot take. At first I was like, okay, here we go. But I do think the length of the episodes kind of helped let that breathe a little bit. But yeah, the whole like R5, I was just like, oh no, okay, here we go. But
I could rattle a few off too. How about the filing of the teeth for the bantha? And they're using the end of one of their, you know, which I have in toy form too.
Goffy sticks?
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I thought he was doing something with the
bend,
teeth.
and then it's got the disc, and he's filing Bantha's teeth. I was like, that's what they're for. Now I get it. Now I know. It's a well-used tool.
I'm really. Go ahead. You have more.
I have some more if you want.
Go ahead.
Let's
have them.
We took notes.
And then we've got some. I don't know. I think we got someone running the picks. Why don't we throw a pickup of the? There appears to be a breathing apparatus that might be familiar from last season. Almost. No. There. Far left. That looks a little gecko-y. Kinda. We saw that. Mm-hmm. See it on the left there? I don't know. Mm-hmm. All right, but anyway, that scene was a ton of fun, and I'm sure there are Easter eggs all throughout it that you got to sit and watch and look at. I think we saw a few flash by. There's some cool aliens in the crowd. One, help me here, because I'm actually a little bit of a novice on this topic.
Okay.
Because I have not seen the Christmas special.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, but I'm scared.
At the end, when he comes blasting out of the dragon, was that kind of mythosaur-y looking mythosaurus? Like he comes blasting out of that. And remember, I don't know, that might be too deep. It just seemed like lightning and everything was flashing around. It seemed like everything I've seen from the graphics of fighting the.
Well, it could definitely be influenced from that. I mean, remember he's using his blaster to stun the dragon from inside, and then he detonates the explosives inside.
But the Mandalorians are in legend of fighting the great. We heard that last season,
right?
Mythosaur, right? Yeah. So I thought maybe that was a Mythosaur kind of tie in there.
I think it's interesting, like how the Jedi have the trials that they must survive to become a Jedi Knight. It seems like the Mandalorians in their culture also has these series of trials that their culture puts on Mandalorian to prove themselves. And so it's kind of interesting. We're watching the Mandalorian kind of be greeted by these obstacles that he has to overcome that kind of mimic the culture that he was brought into as a foundling. I think that's really a cool observation you kind of brought to life there, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for covering.
So I'm here.
And then, of course, the obvious Easter egg at the end, right? With Tamora on the ridgeline, with the twin sons, which is very cool to see. And there he is. Man, look at that. See, I haven't got to. And see that thing on his back? That's what you clean some bantha teeth with, right there.
There's a whole slew. I mean, here's the thing: Koresh, who's the guy that gets eaten by all the wolves at the beginning because he tries to screw over the Mandalorian.
Yep.
That's actually a character from the cantina scene in A New Hope. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
I like the graffiti on that planet too. There were stormtrooper helmets crossed out, so showing kind of the time progression since the fall of the Emperor. I like that. The fact that we had a Twi'lek guard to that area. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of cool. It kind of has like a space fight club, aesthetic going on. I like that actions, like the action of the fight. You just kind of go on and on and on through this whole thing. The Mos Espo reference. I mean, there's a lot that you can dive into in regards to Easter eggs. There, and that's going to be the fun of this. Is as we continue with the series, we're going to be able to find more and more. Let's go ahead and transition real quick to the last topic of our time together this afternoon. Again, the great thing about streaming Star Wars is we're going to fit as much as we can into about 30 minutes or so. 23 to 35 minutes. That's our window. It seems to change. We got 5 minutes.
45 to 50 minutes. Okay.
No, we're gonna try and keep these things tight. Right. But that's, of course, the final prompt has to always be what is next. And let's start with Boba Fett as the focus here. Shannon, what do you think happens next? Chapter 10. We don't know the title, but we have to imagine that Boba Fett is coming after the Mandalorian, who has some familiar armor.
See, this is gonna be a bit of a hot take. I'm wondering if that's it. We don't need the whole season about Boba Fett going after the Mandalorian and everything. We just basically, like Josh said earlier, we got our answer. Boba Fett's alive.
Yeah.
But I know there's also some that maybe he's gonna team up with Fennec Shan and then they kind of are chasing them, but I don't know, maybe that could just be it too, because then it's like, oh yeah, we've had our cool cameos, but then it's like it's not gonna be the sole focus. But again, after this episode, I have no idea. I just still can't believe this is just the very first one, but I don't know, maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I'm kind of secretly hoping it's not gonna be a whole season about Boba Fett and the Mandalorians. Maybe that's a personal headcanon there.
It seems like, you know what I think we got? I think in all the footage that we had seen before this episode, it seems like we got a lot from the first chapter, and it's probably a lot of that probably came from the second chapter, because I think the break in the season is going to be that scene where we see the Mando on that barge, like a ship that's like the actual boat.
Might be Mon Cala.
Yeah. I think that might be the break in the season. I could be wrong here, but I think, we're going to get this whole Boba Fett thing taken out here at the beginning. I can't imagine that's a storyline to carry through the whole thing. But I could be wrong. Some questions that are out there, is Boba by himself? Does he have accomplices? I don't want to speak for Pete Fletcher. He's got a theory. You'll hear it on Beyond the Blast Doors Live this Wednesday night. I think it's genius. I think makes a lot more sense, and I think it has great connectivity implications for the series that we've already seen with season 1 and, of course, now in season 2. Josh, how do you feel? What do you envision happening in chapter 10 next week?
Well, bounty hunters be bounty hunters, right? So Boba could potentially be paired up with Fennec Shan, right? And she's a bounty hunter, or was at least an assassin, kind of same thing. I'm sure she was working for money. But I think, I don't think it's that's it. I mean, to get Tamora turning around in the sunset. I mean, he looks like he has purpose. Where's that pic? He had some purpose in his visage. So I think we are going to get a little more of that. Are we going to see a team up scenario? I hope. Actually, I don't really know if I want a team up scenario. But I think Boba wants his armor back. And is that where they're going with this? Do they want to give Boba back his armor? Obviously, the Mandalorian is not appreciative of anyone wearing that armor other than a Mandalorian.
God, he looks so pissed. And it looks like right now he's wearing your hat, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed you, but I just
you did.
You wanted to see his face, so I brought up his face.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe we get a couple episodes of him. Shannon, it would be like a real baller move to just be like, there you go, guys, and then move on. So maybe I don't know. But I don't care, because I'm going to be watching and finding out along with everyone else, and hopefully we'll just be as thoroughly entertained as I was with this episode. It was amazing.
I think it was an incredible first chapter this second season. Of course, chapter 9 in the series. Great to see what Jon Favreau could do as writer and director. It feels larger, and you can see that in the landscape. A lot of wide shots in this show, and I think that speaks to something that we've all talked about here on the network. Season 2 is going to take a very intimate story, and we're going to be introduced to the larger galaxy, and really excited to see how Favreau and crew make that happen.
That's going to be one
Go ahead.
Sorry, before we wrap.
Go ahead.
How did you feel about the child's interaction in this, which was almost non-existent? He was just kind of a little prop piece throughout all the scenes, making funny noises and ducking into his egg and, doing all that stuff, hiding in a spittoon. I thought that was a pretty good Easter.
God, I was literally cringing.
I thought that maybe Mando was going to be like, get out of there. But no, it was great. He's hiding in a spittoon. And then we talked about this this morning. Really scared that he was going to do some force interaction with the crate dragon and kind of spoil it all, a little bit. And like, oh man, is he going to, Mudhorn type situation, which was awesome when he did it with the Mudhorn. We found out he was force, capable, but he didn't. He just hid like a little kid should, and got taken care of by Cobb Vanth. And so I appreciated that, but he really didn't have a role in this, which is kind of cool in my opinion, because it gave Mandalorian a chance to flesh out his character a little bit.
Yeah, no, I didn't miss it. Like, I think and part of me is also thinking they're waiting for another big, like, force moment, or maybe, it's not even maybe going to even be like a force moment. It's going to be his first words. So that's why we're toning down the child interactions. And then when it does happen, it's going to be something big, like his first word or something like that.
Does he get to are they going to make a lightsaber for the child out of the crate dragon pearl? Is that what's going to happen?
If they have to go, but I mean, that means we're going back to Tatooine a third time, and that just seems like a lot. But we'll find out.
We'll find out. We haven't talked about is the music.
Really good.
It was awesome.
It was really good. It was pretty much what we've heard before, though, right?
No, sorry. I felt it was completely different. Like the opening scene, I was like, because at first I was like, okay, are we going to use the same kind of cues and things like that? And no, it is completely different. And whereas like, and I'm stealing a little bit of this from like Andy and Scotty in our previous like offline conversation, but like The season 1 was more of like an intimate kind of, stranded instruments here and there, whereas this is now like a proper, like almost orchestral, like when the sand people are coming into town and the camera goes over the banthas, that music cue is just wow. So sorry not to kind of be like, no, David, but it was just like, no, it felt so different, and I'm so excited to see new things.
No, listen here. I just listen to you guys. It's all good. We're right here. No, but I think you're absolutely right. And now I have to go watch for a third time so I can learn about the musical score that I guess I wasn't so aware of. Steve says that he hopes that Boba Fett teaches Din Djarin a few things about the Mandalorian culture to help him in his journey across season 2. So that'll be interesting to see if that happens. But like we said at the beginning of this, we're going to find more Easter eggs. We're going to get more ideas before next week's episode. So be sure that you always comment down in the comment section here on YouTube. Let us know your favorite Easter eggs. What were your favorite moments of the episode? What do you think could happen next week? Let us know down in the comments so that way we can continue that Star Wars conversation with you. Looking ahead, next week, November 6th, it's Chapter 10. We think it's called Confrontation, but we also thought this week's episode was called The Search. So we're probably wrong, but we do know that there is an episode next week. We can confirm that. And also, we do know that is written by Mr. Jon Favreau. So I'm really excited to see what happens. Josh, real quick, people want to follow you on social media. What's the best place to find you?
Hey, you can find us at Holochronicles on Twitter. And then, of course, we're part of the Beyond the Blast Doors Network, so you'll find us on our YouTube channel. But Twitter's a great place if you want to keep a dialogue going there. We will chat with you there.
Perfect. Shannon, if someone wants to follow your antics, what's the best way to do that?
You can just follow me at Shenanigan, and it's spelled E-N, not A-N at the end. And I'm looking forward to kind of geeking out all things Mandalorian.
Wonderful. And if you want to talk more Mandalorian, we have a couple of opportunities here on the network. Monday night with Holochronicles, I'm sure the boys will be discussing about how many, 15 different collectibles they can pull from this one chapter alone. But you can also find me on BTB Live every Wednesday night with Arzu Amin and Pete Fletzer. We will be talking about Mando and get their takes on everything. And as always, you can follow the Beyond the Blast Doors Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at BTBDNet. We've already promoted the upcoming shows, so I guess we'll just have to say this one more time. Be sure you comment down below. Let's continue the Star Wars conversation. Thanks for joining us back in this new venture here with Streaming Star Wars, and we'll see you soon. May the Force be with you.
For over 40 years, Star Wars has been a part of our culture, a part of our lives, and a part of who we are. Now there's one place with something for every type of Star Wars fan. The Beyond the Blast Doors Network. From the latest in Star Wars news.
A great day, an exciting day here on the YouTube channel.
To collectibles.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah,
beautiful.
How much you want for it?
Interviews with creators.
If you want your book to feel necessary, it has to deliver some insight or some piece of information that you didn't get anywhere else.
Famous fans.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like all there's a yeah. That's great.
Fan documentaries.
This moment, like the Force awakened in Rey, but it also awakened something in me.
And great conversation with casual and hardcore fans alike.
I've seen a lot of things end up on the cutting room floor that I'm like, oh.
The Beyond the Blast Doors Network was made for you. New content nearly every day of the week on video and podcast. There's something for every fan. Visit BeyondTheBlastDoors.com and on YouTube search Beyond the Blast Doors.